The time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Stone, and we are your guides on your journey into the heart of the primordial.
Welcome to Season 8, Episode 1.
Ta-da!
This is the way it's going to be. Dun, dun,
Okay.
dun.
Subtitle, The Oracle. I
Yes.
don't know why. It just is.
No, that's good because to be honest with the listeners, I have zero clue. I just know Season 7 is done. I have no idea what Season 8 is, but I think Michaela's got at least something today. She's got something in her soul.
It would seem. And we decided, just FYI, we decided to record about 10, 15 minutes ago. So this is very much unscripted, as they all are. And I think you can probably tell. But it's unscripted, unplanned, at least by us. So there's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And I think we can start with a little journey today. How about that? It's the start of a
All
new
right.
season. It's the start of an inward journey, and this one is going to be uh, for Danielle, but also,
All
the
right.
listener. So, and I don't know where we're going with it, so let's just see what we've got. For the listener, close your eyes or leave them open. I don't care, actually. If you're going to leave them open, focus on one thing that's not the screen, something that's distant, not your phone, not your computer, whatever.
Mhm.
And now I want you to feel into the way you're sitting, the position you're in, the posture that you have. Don't alter it yet. Just recognize where it is, where you are. And then I want you to feel into what's in front of you, what's in your environment in front of you. If you lean forward a little bit, how does that feel for you? Just kind of stay there for a moment and use your senses to connect with the forward part of your body, the forward periphery, if you will. And check in with your breathing while you're there. Is it shallow? Is it deeper? And then as you take a deep breath in, when you're ready, I want you to take that breath and move back to center. And then as you exhale, lean back a little and pay attention to, oh, hey, I have a back body as well. I have a feeling we're going to play in this area a fair bit today. What is behind you? What supports you? What is the shadow that's behind you? Because typically that's where you're going to see your shadow, right? Obviously, depending on the sun, you're going to see it in front sometimes, but we think of it as being behind us. So, how connected to that do you feel? And what's your breath like in this place? Is it more shallow? Less? Do you feel your body tightening up? Is there a new awareness here that you didn't have a moment ago? And then as you work with your breath, just gently moving forwards, center, back, center, forwards, back to the center, further back. So I just want you to go through those three positions one after the other, and you can pause in each one if you want to, however long you want, but kind of recognize that they all exist, that it's not just what's in front of you, because this is part of how our vision is limited, is we look in front, we look at what's coming, and we worry about what's behind, but we never actually look at it. We don't have an awareness of it, and we don't tend to understand that that's your support. That's your foundation, is the back of your body, the back of your field, your magnetic field. So just keep moving back and forward, just gently. Nothing weird or wacky. And obviously, please don't do this if you're driving. Not really. That's probably not a good idea. But you can play this later and try it again. And then come back to center and just kind of be still and check, where's your shoulders? Where are your feet? How does it feel to be back in a central position, knowing that you have the support of everything that's behind you and you have the vision of everything in front of you? Breathe all of that into your body, into your awareness, because we're going on a ride. And I don't know where it's taking us, but we need all of us. We need all of what we have, an awareness of everything. So check in with your body. How does that feel? Is there any area that has a problem, a sticking point, a don't look at me kind of point? Is there anything like that? And Danielle, as you're here, you can answer that if you want to. Otherwise, we can continue either
Mm.
way.
I don't have a sticking point today.
Cool. Okay.
Everything's out in the open. Everything's bathed in the light, if you will.
Okay. For the listener, if you do have a sticking point, sit with that for a little while and just check in with what does that need and can you deliver? Can you give it what it needs? A little attention, acknowledgement is probably what you're looking for. Acknowledgement of that part. It is going to show up again. And I don't know what that means. I just know it's going to do it. So when you're ready, I want you to bring your awareness back to the room you're in, to the space you're in, and give your body a little shake. Just like the animals do when they've had a
Yeah.
disagreement or something, they shake it off.
Yeah.
And while that
Sure.
wasn't a disagreement, you're
Yeah.
shaking it off to come back to where we are now.
Right.
Welcome
Unfor-
back.
well, thank you. Unfortunately for the listeners today, I didn't have anything. I've been doing this for the last day and a half, so I got everything out in
Unbeknownst
the
to me, but
open.
also
Yeah.
it's for somebody. So
Right.
we'll see.
All my stuff's been bathing in the light for last day and a half.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. Sometimes, Daniel and I don't coordinate as often as you might think we do. Um, we don't need to necessarily because we tend to be in tune enough not to have to. But yeah, it just kind of came up that today we needed to do this recording. And
Yep.
I've also pulled an oracle card. And I
Nice.
want to read that one to you as well while we're here.
All
So
right.
this is from a deck I particularly enjoy called The Wild Unknown Animal Spirit. And it's put together by Kim Krans, Krans. So if you want to find it, it's a beautiful work. And the one I picked today seems to land well. Buffalo, grounded
Mm.
yet heavenly, practical yet spiritual. The hooves of the mighty buffalo are grounded in the earth, yet its heart and mind rise towards heaven. The buffalo sees challenge, hardship, or a bump in the road as an opportunity for upliftment. That's the word she used.
Mm.
Therefore, the buffalo does not fear death, illness, or misfortune. Its gentle eyes look to the road ahead, trusting every turn. May we all experience this elusive yet life-changing bliss from time to time. And may we allow this card to remind us that life is a precious gift. There's a little more. When in balance, this card brings trusting and pure presence. When out of balance, you'll recognize restlessness and a lack of gratitude. To bring into balance spells, prayer, whatever communication you have with your deity or spirits. And that's how I'd like to begin season 8.
Mm.
So grounded yet heavenly, or you could say wherever you want heaven to be, practical yet spiritual, which I'd like to think we are.
Right. It is a good beginning when you're doing the opening, our opening thing, our opening. One of the things I noticed when I leaned forward and you said, what do you feel? Uh, I had basically I want to say a radar sense for the place.
Okay.
Like I could feel even though my eyes were closed, I could feel where everything was. I could feel where things were positioned by, feedback, whatever you want to put it, from energy, even going backwards and going through the different things. So I could feel the room. It was pretty interesting.
Mm. Did you get a new awareness of the back of your body and the back area around your body?
Yes, because actually what you were saying was, it made sense to me because one of the things I contemplate every once in a while is like I seem to have a great understanding of what's ahead of me, but behind me seems lost.
And
Or I
this
should
was
say,
definitely for you.
yeah. Well, I would like to say, like, if you think about having a sensory bubble, it was like I'm on the edge of the bubble and the bubble is facing forward, but the
Mhm.
bubble's not reaching behind me.
Perfect. Okay.
But what I did
That's,
notice, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's what we need to check into.
Yeah.
But what you did notice was,
When I lean back, okay, yes, I'm in a chair,
uh-huh.
but the whole, like, so the front was lit and the back was dark, but the dark felt like a supportive space,
Okay.
like it was moving everything forward.
Which is, in fact, what the shadow side does. It is supportive and it's there waiting for us to look and to say, oh, let me learn what's here.
Mhm.
Let me learn from the shadow side, right?
Right.
This has definitely been a theme for us, and I think I don't know, and I'm not dictating anything, but I have a download that shadow work in a more let's try this today sense is going to be season 8. I think there's going to be a lot of here's something for you to try. Here's a
Mm.
practical exercise, a thing to look at. You know, we've said before where you have that doubt or that
Mm.
refusal to go to, that's where you need to look. But I think we're going to get a little more specific.
Mm.
That's what I'm getting.
Well, that's good
So
because I have no vision of season 8. So,
I'm just getting this
yeah.
literally as we started talking. As you hit record, I didn't know what we were going to start with even.
Right.
So, and that whole journey happened. Every word that came out was the first time I heard it.
Mm.
So, yep, I'm gonna have to listen to that one again.
Yeah. And to remind the listeners, for those of you who are in this wave of teachers, this is probably going to be what you're experiencing as well.
Mm,
You're suddenly just kind of you're where you need to be without knowing you need to be there, and you have the words you need without knowing the words until they come out.
the important thing is to trust that you have them.
Yeah.
And I can't emphasize that one enough. The trust of don't try and map it out, plan it out, rehearse it, change. the information you're
Right.
getting. That one, I emphasize that sort of with my tone because I've tried it and it doesn't work. If what you're getting is a little uncomfortable for the person in front of you, or frankly, very uncomfortable, and you
Mm.
you kind of want to soften it, make it a little less challenging for them, it will not land.
Right.
So I can tell you that from experience. It will not land and it will keep not landing until you give it up and say, okay, fine. This is what I'm
Just,
actually getting.
yeah.
And then you just give it to them how it is, and then we can all move forward, right? You will be stuck while you try and change what you receive. So trust that what you're getting, even if you don't like it, even if you're not comfortable with it, perhaps especially then, just trust that it is correct and you need to deliver it to whoever needs to hear it.
Right.
And
Uh,
that's it. That's how it works.
yeah. Because remember, when you get the message, it's measured in the impact it needs to have, or it's
Right.
prepped in the impact it needs to have. So if you try to dull it, bring it down, or edit it or dull it down, you're not letting it have the impact on the person it needs.
You're also putting your own lens
Yeah.
in the way. And the thing is, I fully confess to having done that once or twice because with the best of intention,
Mm.
so the other person isn't upset. But as soon as it didn't work, I realized, that's a bit of ego getting in the way there,
Mm.
right? That I can determine what's okay for them and what isn't. That's not my business to do. My business is to deliver the message that I'm given in the way I'm given it. And so that's a bit of a slap up the head, right? For, hey, quit putting your own interpretation on it and
Yeah.
just put it out there as it's given because it's given correctly. So that's something that I needed to learn myself. And I'm telling it to you so that you can either not experience it or recognize it when you do. Either way.
Yeah. All right. So I have a thing. So Michaela is in ascension. I've mentioned this at the beginning of the season, of last season, but a reminder of this season that Michaela is in ascension.
And he wants to leave me with that.
Well, it's
Ah,
not so much, I don't know. I didn't want to leave you with that. That was just how it was supposed to be said.
uh-huh. Well, there are a great many things coming into play right now. Um, there is a whole lot of work I'm going to be doing on. I was originally going to look at the seven deadly sins because they're not, but no, I'm going with the even further back, eight evil thoughts
Mm,
is where it started off from. And this, Catholic or no, because it came from the first Pope, but Catholic or no, these ideas have infiltrated everybody's lives. Even if you have never set foot in a church, let alone a Catholic one, we're all aware of those seven deadly sins, right? Which is the
hmm.
format that we know them in. And I'm discovering an awful lot about what they actually mean and what they are portals to. And there is a lot of magic, a lot of clearing to be done, and a lot of shadow work in those places. So that's going to be coming up all over the place, a great deal. So, for example, the sin of sloth is it's rest. It's allowing yourself to
Hmm.
rest. It's finding where you need to rest that you haven't been and what's the impact of that. So, for example, we come up with social media a lot. And why is that? Because that's in everybody's life.
Yes.
That's something we all have in common. You can be in a slum in India and a kid will have access to social media somehow. Um, and that's fact. I've seen it, been there, seen it. And it's while you're not resting from endless information and disinformation and pure crap, actually, that we're being thrown all the time, while you're not resting, what are you being distracted from? And where is your energy going? Because it is being funneled. What I see is like a vortex of It's like it's extracting your energy, and everybody's energy is going somewhere, and it's not going to a place that you would consciously choose. I can't be clearer than that, but that's the image. To give you the colors, it's like dark blue. It's almost like deep ocean kind of color,
Yes.
deep, deep ocean. And there's a swirling vortex that's going up to the right, and it's sucking the energy out of you. And you're opening that portal with constant contact with social media.
Yes.
No particular platform, all of it, the construct, the and with social media, I'm also including the supposed news channels and what have you. They're all contributing to this vortex, just sucking the energy out of you,
Yep.
and that's going somewhere.
No, it's true. Like even my what I did yesterday. Yesterday I took a, for lack of a better expression, I took a healing day. And I was good. I was meditating, sleeping, and by the end of the day I just kind of opened up, went on social media, and it was like, yeah, wow, you really, really taking a day of, detoxing and stuff and all that, and then you jump back on it, you see it, you can feel it happening. It was like the
Yes.
time I described there was a power outage, and I was at my aunt and uncle's place, and they had a gas stove, and it still worked with the power out, so it was warm, and it was dark, and there was, nothing, and it was just like, oh. And then when the power came back on, I could just feel all my muscles tighten.
Hmm.
As you hear everything power up, I could just feel everything tighten.
And you know what? That is a beautiful segue into the dark moon,
Right.
because the 3 days of the dark moon
Mm.
is exactly what you've just described. That's the point. It's the darkness that's not threatening or unnerving, but it's rest, it's recuperation, it's space to heal, it's space to be.
Right.
Because if we're continually hooked into something that's sucking our energy, where are we? Where where is your personal development? And I don't mean that from a, hey, let's go buy another self-help book. I mean that from a evolution
Right.
perspective. Like where is your personal growth, your movement forward if you're being sucked out sideways? Like it's and you can feel it. Like I invite the listener to do exactly what Danielle just described
Mm.
with taking a day off. Take two if you can manage it, right? And here's the thing, if you can't manage it, isn't that interesting information?
Mm.
That tells you you have an addiction. Because if you can't take a day off something, that is a definition of an addiction, right? Like, really, you can take a day off food and you're okay. Not recommended for water, but that is a different thing, right?
Right.
But you can take a day off most things. You can certainly take a day off work, right? You could take a day off
Mm.
reading a book. There's lots of things that you can happily say, oh, okay, I'll take a day off that. But when it
Right.
comes to not picking up the phone and scrolling or not turning on your computer, how long could you manage that for? I invite you to do a day, maybe two. And then when you check in again to your computer or your phone, notice, notice your body's response to that. Because those muscles are likely to tighten. Your head is going to do a little, and there's a contraction that happens because your whole body is bracing for what's hitting it. Now, if you're doing that to yourself continually, oof, hard place to be. Hard place to be present enough for your magic, let alone anybody else's.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know why this comes up, but matching what you say, a cousin of mine who's moved away now, every once in a while he has a cottage and he inherited, and he would have work to do on it. So he would call me up and go, okay, we're going to the cottage this weekend there. Says you can leave your phone and stuff at home there. You'd be 2 days away from the internet. We got work to do. I'm like, perfect,
Right?
you know? And it
Yep.
was like
Yep.
relaxing for 2 days, doing some work, getting the feel of, manual labor, and then coming back home. And but those 2 days of you're just in your body doing what you need to do, and you're away from distractions. It's always pretty good. So I'm usually always gung ho to go when he calls me.
Uh-huh. Yep. And I have the times where I've done that most prolonged, if you will, is
Mm,
trekking. Now, I've done a lot of trekking, and for the listener that doesn't know me, I've been traveling since I was 6 months old. So I've been very fortunate to go to a lot of different places, and I've done some Himalaya hopping,
mm,
if you will. So different places in the high Himalayas or Himalayas, as
mm.
they pronounce them over there, and trekking. You don't have internet. You don't have uh, social media or anything. So no point in having a phone. So I would spend 2 weeks out of contact with people. And even when I'm back in a town, I typically did not rush to find the local internet cafe because I was enjoying being where I was in the moment, doing the thing, and not actually connecting to social media. And all I can say is when you've had a break that big and you come back into it, it feels rude. It's just rude. Like it's intrusive and unpleasant and just noisy, right?
Yep.
And the word is rude. Seriously,
Mm.
that's the word. Just oh. And I've experienced it a number of times, and same word for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's how I felt about daylight savings time this year.
Oh, that's bloody rude. Yes, I'm still having a hard time with it.
Like this year is the first time I really felt it. Normally I don't feel it, but everything felt off by an hour. Like literally.
Mm,
I
yep,
don't
and that
normally
still does
really
for me.
notice it, but this year went like it hit. But I know for the last few years for me, I am enjoying the darkness that winter brings.
Hmm.
And then to now have that day extended by an hour or that time extended by an hour. I know it's not really because the morning gets moved up too, like sunrise, but it's like it was an extra hour I didn't need. I was already in tune with the way the light and that was flowing with the time as it was. And so to have that disruption was like, that was exactly what it felt like. It felt like this is rude. Why are you imposing this on me?
Hmm.
It's not necessary. Nobody
Absolutely.
needs it.
Very, very disruptive, I would say. Very disruptive. And yeah, I've been complaining about it all week. I'm not happy about it at all. My whole rhythm is off. So just imagine when you've got cycles that we all live by cycles, right? You have your circadian rhythm, you have all kinds of cycles that you might not even be aware of, but the moon is a cycle, and it's the cycle that really.
All right.
So
I
we
had
just
to,
we just had a little
yeah.
break this time for Danielle, not me. It wasn't puppies. So yay, finally. And we were talking about the moon and following the circle of the moon, the cycle of the moon even. Um, and how we used to do that as a the human race used to do that. The calendar, if you look at the older religions such as Judaism, it's a lunar calendar. Islam, lunar calendar, Chinese. They do not follow the Gregorian calendar, which, funnily enough, it's that same Pope again
Mm,
who brought in the seven deadly sins, having changed from the eight evil thoughts. This dude was obviously very busy
right.
creating a lot of things that we have been, I'm going to say, suffering from ever since. Like, he really did a number on humanity
Mm,
with these rules and regulations. So if you're a rule-bound person, this is probably why. This is where it
yeah.
came from.
You know,
Pope Gregorius really handed us a
yeah.
number.
You know, it's something to touch on for a second. Just how much we've been pulled away. Like, you know, I mean, not like we, make a secret of our lack of love for religion, but I mean, when you think about how much we've been pulled away from the natural cycles of the world with Christianity. It's like it's overwhelming when you really sit down to think about it, like just how much we've lost our connection to
Oh yeah.
everything.
It should make you mad as hell, actually. It should when you've spent some time here, and I am shooting on all of us for this one,
Hmm.
because when you've spent some time considering what we have lost. I mean, women, for example, what
Hmm.
women have lost over centuries and centuries is incalculable. Like whoa,
Yeah.
I don't even have words, but how much has been lost in every possible aspect. Women have lost out. Men have lost because
Mm.
they didn't realize what was missing and how they were being used to oppress women as well as each other, right?
Hmm.
So when you start looking back and you see we can focus on Pope Gregorius, I would say, for a minute or two, because he was the first one in charge. And if you know your history of popes, they were not the most clean living of people. They were not truly pious in any way, shape, or form. And if you doubt what I'm saying, awesome. Look it up, please. Be
Mm.
informed. But
Yes.
that first pope, he did a number on us. He gave us a whole new calendar that took away from the moon altogether. Let's get away from the pagan way of life, from the attachment to seasons and cycles of the moon. Let's not follow that anymore. We need to have the masculine energy of
Mm.
the sun, and we'll incorporate those Greek gods and what have you into the names of things, just so that everybody's happy, even
Mm.
though this isn't serving anyone, right? That's kind of how it went down. There is no point in having 12 months per se. And the fact that you have to have a leap year every four,
Hmm.
the extra day every 4 years tells you that this is not a true cycle. It's
Right.
incorrect. It's not even mathematically correct, for crying out loud. So we lost there. And that was huge because the moon tells you when is the time for growth and blossoming and doing and being. And then the end of the cycle toward the beginning of the next cycle, the dark moon, that's your space to breathe. That's your space to recuperate, to prepare for the next cycle, right? We have to have this day and night. The moon has a day and
Yeah.
night of its own in that month, right?
Hmm.
That 28 days, which coincides with a woman's cycle, funnily enough.
Right.
Who knew, right? Nature is in synchronicity with it, all the aspects of it. And then Pope Gregorius came along and threw a whole spanner in the works with changing the calendar. And then he starts telling people the most natural things about them are evil,
Yeah.
right? The most very natural thing about you is evil. You want to rest? Ooh, tut tut tut.
Hmm.
Lust? What? You have desire for something?
Yeah.
That's awful. He went through all the things that humans are here to experience and enjoy and made them wrong.
Right.
And for that, I would love for him to be reincarnated so I could show him what I think about it. Um,
Yeah.
and call me heretic if you will. I truly couldn't care less. Like it means absolutely nothing to me. Um, so yeah, religion. I'm I'm mad as hell about religion because it has done so much damage.
Mm.
If you look at the wars, if you look at the mass killings that have happened over the centuries, they are mostly in the name of religion. That is
Yeah.
that is usually the case. From the Crusades, pick a thing. It's all religion. Islam spread by the sword, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. It's in the name of this God that is merciful, right? The
Yes.
irony of this just cracks me up. But yeah, I'm pretty unambiguous about how I feel
Yeah.
about religion. And when
Well,
people
that's what I
want to
said,
try and
right?
convert me,
Yeah.
it's I take it as an affront.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, right? I didn't quit having a religion because I didn't believe. I quit because I believed. And
Right.
exactly what you pointed out. So this merciful God is using war to spread its word and punishing you for eternity, which again, not canon. But and it's like, well, I mean, technically you are, right? If you cease to exist, then you're not in favor, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And it's like, you're the merciful God. What does an unmerciful God do? You know,
Right.
because the
This
merciful
is what
God
you
sounds pretty bad as it is.
this is what you do from love. And when you look at the biblical tales of death and mayhem
Mm-hmm.
and what have you, that this merciful God wreaks upon it, the people of the planet for very small infractions, a lack of trust. Okay, maybe you didn't earn it.
Mm-hmm.
A lack of commitment. Okay, there could be different reasons for that. So now we're going to wipe out this entire section of humanity because of it. Really? And then Lucifer, I think, was responsible for three deaths and they all earned it. Like they all actually did something for it. So you got the merciful God who wipes out almost the planet, right? Think of Noah's Ark. There weren't a whole heap left. And then and then you got Lucifer who kills three people. Um, I think there's something a little messed up there. So we have all these unexamined stories that have taken us, as you said, taken us away from the connection to spirit, the connection to the world that we're living
Yeah.
in. And that's more than freaking rude. That is, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna go off on a pretty hefty tangent if I keep going with that
You
one.
know, I have something also to add to what you said about, under women were, you know, and then men were also given you that bad impression, that illusion. But I'm going to share the story that someone shared with me. So she would be in her 70s now. Anyway, so she was telling me when she wanted to learn to drive, her dad said no. Women do not drive and that kind of thing. And she was really angry with him and stuff like that, right? She did eventually learn to drive because she's very stubborn. But years later, as more women were driving, her dad came to her and said, "You know what? I'm really sorry. Like he felt really bad, that I was so against you learning to drive." He said, "I just wanted to keep you safe. I wanted to protect you, but I realized that it was misplaced." Like he didn't use exactly those words, but that kind of concept
Mm.
where he was like, "Why was I so foolish as to not let you drive?" Like, he thought he was being protective. He thought he was doing right by her. And that's kind of when I see the argument, right? When people kind of bash at men because of patriarchy, it's like you don't understand. A lot of guys really did this because they thought they were doing the right thing for you. They didn't realize. I mean, listen, I'll be the first person to call someone out for being not smart enough to figure it out, but like there was a lot of pressure to think you're doing the right thing by someone.
So here's the thing that the
Yeah.
first sin, if you will, that
Yeah.
was visited upon men
Hmm.
was to convince them that they had a right to determine for another human being what they could and couldn't do. That's the first mistake, because there is no right for a male
Well, I
to
don't know if it was a
decide what a
right
woman does.
specifically. I think it was a
It was.
responsibility.
It was a right to determine what they were going to do. And you can use the word responsibility, but they never questioned that they
Well, and
had the
that's
right to do
the
that.
right, and
They
that's
never
where I
questioned it.
say
That's what
yes.
I'm agreeing a
Yeah.
little differently, but I'm agreeing that this is something that was taught to men, that they had a right to do this to women,
Hmm.
and they're fighting back against learning otherwise right now. If you
Yeah.
look at the incel movement, for
Right.
example, they're having a massive pushback problem. And why would you need to feel that you have to control another person and that you have the the right, the permission to tell that person what they can and can't do? So that's the first problem.
Hmm.
And then you get into the shape of the problem, which is the kind of things that were controlled. And in some parts of the world still are. Forced child marriages are
Hmm.
happening and honor killings happen and all kinds of
Yeah.
things happen. It's the women that are catching it, not the men. It's still her
You know,
fault. She's the one that gets the brunt of
right.
it. And men cannot, I believe anyway, and I don't know if I can be proven wrong, it could be argued, but I don't know if it could be proven.
Right.
But I believe men who are in that position aren't truly happy.
No, that's what I'm getting at.
I don't think they've contacted true happiness yet
No.
because there's a whole part of their lives, i.e., the women in it, that are away from them, that are disconnected from them because of the force, because of the imposition of the male will on the female. And
Right.
women are not taking this shit anymore, in certainly in Western countries, and are pushing back. And that means then that the evangelical
Mm.
right, who are not religious at all, by the way, it's a it's like the KKK using crosses. Did
Right.
that mean they were Christian? No,
Mm.
it was just a calling card,
Cover.
if you
Yeah.
will. Right? It was a calling card, just like the evangelical bunch. It's a calling card, but they're pushing to get women more under control. Well, there's only a few people in society that are going to quote unquote benefit from that. And again, they're missing a massive part of the human experience. Even if they get all the money they want, etc., they have the power, they are missing so much that's vital.
I,
And I think that's a shame for everybody. So as women, we have a responsibility to not permit that anymore.
mm. Okay. So this is dropping in. Okay. So like I had said, right? I'll also be the first person to also tell men that, listen, you guys should be smart enough to question it. You should always be questioning it. Even if you think it's your responsibility, you should ask, why is this my responsibility? And so I don't give people a pass because they didn't question it. You know, I was just
Mhm.
kind of adding a bit of nuance to it. But yes, especially right now, where we are, you don't get that pass of I meant well.
Oh no. It's like ignorance of the law is
Right.
not an excuse for breaking the law. It's the same thing. You don't question it, you better bloody well start.
Right.
Right?
Because
Like
that's where we
start
are
questioning it
magically.
now.
Right. So
Yep.
this is for the, we'll call it the wielders of the divine masculine. Meaning well, being stoic, thinking you have a responsibility, question it. Not because you don't have those things, but question it for why, because it will not apply all the time. And you should know why you're doing something, not just because someone told you, not just because you feel you have to question it. Really make sure, because right now the divine feminine is ascending so that you can restore harmony. So, as the divine masculine, as wielders of the divine masculine, what can you do to help facilitate this?
Which is support rather
Right,
than dominance.
right,
Because the only way the masculine can be dominant is physically,
right,
really and truly. There isn't an intellectual or a mental superiority in any way, shape, or form. There are differences. So the only dominance is the physical one, hence all the violence against women and the sexual assaults and so on.
mm,
All of this is a guy proving that, he's the boss.
mm.
It doesn't prove anything of the sort. It proves exactly the opposite, in fact, that this is the level you have to sink to.
Yes, this is what I
So,
was going to say earlier about people who honor killings and stuff like that. Like, if you think of
mhm.
female circumcision, right? It's invoked to prevent girls from being promiscuous. That's, as I understand the concept. But that action alone is you admitting your family's not honorable. That action itself, because the minute you take away the choice to be honorable and force it, you've admitted to the world your family's not honorable. I don't know if people don't see that when they do that, but that's literally what you're telling people.
It's also what's being done is
Mm,
physically it's mutilation and it causes extreme pain for the woman when there is sex. So,
mm,
when she's married off because it's not her choice,
right,
um, that's then painful, and then she has to go through childbirth, which is bad enough as it is, without all that stuff going on top. So again, it's inflicting
right.
more pain on women to let them know who the boss is.
Yeah,
And it's making women responsible for men's lack of self-control. And this
right.
is the kind of bullshit that we have reached now in society. And actually, we reached it hundreds of years ago. It's just
Mm,
really evident now that it's always on the one who is repressed. The responsibility for the male lack of self-control
mm,
is put on her. This does not work. Look
mhm.
at the Epstein files,
Yeah.
and who's believed and who isn't. Man alive, this is a story as old as time.
Well, I would
Anyway, this
argue it's not a
could
question of belief or disbelief. It's a question of wanting to have favor.
it's all of the above.
Mm.
Like the average
Although,
person
again,
will
my own
argue,
counterpoint, right, to it was, again, Sigmund Freud, that whole story of why there's a diagnosis for hysteria rather than PTSD. Why it took a while for PTSD to show up as a diagnosis was because Freud refused to accept that people in polite society did really, really terrible things, even to their own children, in this case, a
and
daughter.
it and he had a whole bunch of
Yeah.
issues himself, as generally speaking, psychiatrists
Yeah.
do. It's part of the deal. But this isn't meant. What I'm saying is not male bashing. It's patriarchy bashing,
Mm.
and the place that we have all arrived at since then. And just like when you see The Handmaid's Tale,
Right.
women will be in proximity to power and feel that by supporting that power, that they are somehow connected to it. They, of course, are not, and they'll be the first to be sacrificed. But
Mm-hmm.
you do have some women that support this, and they're generally the ones who are pointed to as, oh yeah, but it must be okay because look, this person and this
Mm.
person. No, they're also a victim of the patriarchy, just the same way as men are, and women are the sort of, how do I want to put that? Women are the focal point of the repression, and who does the repressing depends on who's influenced by
Mm.
what we're told is power according to patriarchy. That
Right.
that's a big point, actually. The power that patriarchy holds or thinks it holds, that system, is a false power. It's not
Right.
real. That's where this is why we're turning to the spiritual world. This
Mm-hmm.
is where the spirit realm, the deities, that's where your power is. That's the reality.
Mm.
So questioning, and particularly anything Pope Gregory put out there, but questioning the things that take you away from natural cycles.
Yes.
This is important. This is a really good place to start questioning. Like
Well,
what?
that's the thing. So I don't know if I was interrupting you there or not, but this thing jumped out. So it's a good thing there's two of us because I'm going to say stuff and it's probably going to sound really horrible. So we'll see. So right now,
I'll tell you.
yeah. So now, and this is for males specifically right now, although it's for everyone right now because we're discussing patriarchy. This is also for males more specifically. Put aside victimhood because you're going to want to say, well, this is what I was taught. This is how I was raised. This is what was reinforced. It doesn't matter. Now is not the time for victimhood. It goes for everyone, but more specifically in this instance, males. But it's time to put victimhood aside because right now you're reaching for power. And we've already said this on the podcast. Getting power out of fear or out of kind of negative emotions, using negative emotions to get yourself power, that power is bonded to negative emotions. This is more of a, like, even if you want to put morality and stuff aside, it's like, if you don't, if you, whatever, bleh. So, okay, man, this is going to feel like it takes 12 steps to get to it. Put victimhood aside because the emotions you're experiencing influence the power you'll receive and how you use it. It's a
Mhm.
natural consequence, you know, like you had said before, if you bang your head against the wall, it's still going to hurt regardless of your motivation.
Right.
This is the same thing. If you go in with negative emotion, feelings of victimhood, feelings of anger because you were done wrong, is going to affect how you have the power. It's going to cut off opportunities for something more healing. it's going to cut off opportunities for something for growth. So right now you have to put those aside, not because you don't deserve justice or anything like that, but just because just the physics of the magic, if you will. Your
Hmm.
emotions have to be aligned and harmonized. And if you're allowing yourself to be distracted, anything you grab that comes to you is going to be in that vein. So you're not doing yourself any favors, or anyone else for that matter. But especially you, you're not doing yourself any favors. You like,
Right. I
yeah.
mean, the thing is, men and women right now have got a lot to push back against, a
Mm-hmm.
lot to get upset about, and and you can take it as a personal affront if you
Mm-hmm.
want, but it's actually way bigger than that. And it's not your personal experience in this lifetime right now. It's we're talking millennia here of building this
Mm-hmm.
up. So the men like the incels who I see on social media a lot ranting about, yeah, you women, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be old and alone and living with your cats and stuff like that. And they don't seem to understand that there are plenty of women who would be perfectly happy with that. But the other thing is that's coming from a place of petulant anger that I can't get laid, right?
Right.
I don't have a woman in my life, therefore I'm going to yell about all women being terrible. And that solves what?
Right.
That's it's entirely victimhood. There's nothing helpful, proactive, like positive, growth oriented in there at all. That person has lost touch with just about everything around them and absolutely the spiritual side of life. Like that person has no clue
Right.
what phase of the moon we're in, right? They don't even recognize that the moon is significant. Um, Male or female. The women who have got stories about how other women need to behave,
Mm-hmm.
either the trad wife movement, good Lord,
Mm-hmm.
or the people who sound more like me. Um, Either way, that's okay. Have a stance. Yes, stand for something. Stand against something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and don't make that everything about you.
Right.
That's okay. There's where you're coming from. Now, what can you do that's positive from there? What
Right.
is your action that will improve for everybody? Because there isn't a winner loser here. Right now, we're all losing. Right
So if
now,
there's a loser, then everyone loses.
yeah, right now we're all losing in this current situation. And those of us that see that are trying to make us all win. So it's not women against men. That is how it's always been, but that is not how it needs to continue. That's
Mm.
exactly how it needs to not continue, right? So, it's not a men bashing thing to say that the patriarchy
Mm.
must go. It benefits everybody. Nobody did well out of that deal.
Right.
Nobody had a better connection because of it.
Right.
It's just, that's not helpful for anybody. And men are currently feeling really put upon and upset because the women are no longer taking it. And they're pushing back. And the guys are like, yeah, but it's always been this way. What's wrong with you? Um, well, it wasn't okay. But now the guys are sort of, well, it was okay before. Why is it different for me? My dad was like this. It was okay. This is all the kind of thing that you were saying is victimhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, it was. Now it isn't. So
Right.
let's move forward collectively as human beings and contact again nature and the spirit world that's around us in a functional, healthy way. And that's everybody, men and women.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? Because you don't heal a whole by only healing part of it. As far as magic goes in the creative force, masculine and feminine. So if you only heal the feminine or you only heal the masculine, the creative force is not whole. And we're like
No,
that as a species.
we need
So,
balance.
right.
Or harmony, actually, is what we need. We need
Yes.
to restore harmony. And we haven't had that for a very, very, very long time. So it's essentially new again.
Right.
Um, and that's why we need practitioners now
Mm-hmm.
to be really clear in why you're doing what you're doing so that you can get a better outcome based on what your intention is, based on where you're coming from. In the mundane world, for example, if you are trying to create from a place
Mm-hmm.
of lack, then all you will create is more lack.
Right.
And I'll give you the behavior analysis side of that. That's very concrete for anybody that's listening and needs concrete. Um, so if you think to yourself, oh, I need to get out of debt, I hate being in debt, I've
Mm.
got this debt, your brain, the reticular activating system in your brain, picks up on the word debt because it's the most concrete
Right.
thing. And what it gets from what you're saying and what you're focusing on is, I need debt. And
Right.
so it triggers the behaviors that you already have in your repertoire. It triggers the behaviors that will give you more of what you're focusing on. And if the debt is the thing you're focusing on, even if you're saying I need to get out of debt,
Right.
what the negative isn't being picked up, the word debt is. And so your reticular activating system, which is the thing that runs your automatic behaviors, your habits, it will prompt you to do the things that will get you into more debt because that's what you asked for. And it wants you to be
Right.
happy, right? So if you're coming from a place of lack, or if you're creating from a place of anger, or, anger that's vindictive
Right.
rather than used as a fuel
Right.
for transformation. There's a big difference, right? So if you're coming from revenge, vengeance is best
Right.
served cold, and all this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, you you're going to get a whole bunch of what actually you probably don't really want, but you
Mm-hmm.
want to inflict on others. And as we can see in the US today, when you inflict things on other people, it affects everybody.
Right.
So hence the clarity, right? That's kind of a long way to point it out. But if you think about the behavior analysis piece I gave you on
Mm-hmm.
how that shows up in your behaviors, it'll explain so much in your life as to why you keep doing things that don't serve you, and you want a different outcome, but you're coming from that place that you don't want to be in.
Right. I just got pulled off on a tangent.
No, really?
Yeah, I did.
In this podcast?
Yeah. So, okay. So I've been thinking about, I got pulled off to thinking about all the different seasons, right? So
Uh-huh.
from one to now eight. And it's not so much about the obvious content, is that there's frequency modulation happening. Because some of the things we talk about in different seasons are really just connected to the old stuff from other seasons, just put differently or
Mhm.
put up a step. So a lot of it, if you're not as attuned, you'll just go, why are they repeating the content all the time? Why are they always repeating the same content? Or why are they saying the same thing? This season they're supposed to be doing this, but yet they're still doing things like from last season. But it's every new season is a different frequency modulation that's happening on the spiritual level rather than just what you and I are sharing verbally to the listeners. There's also a, yeah, there's change in frequency. There's a continuously adding on happening in the spiritual part. That was the tangent.
No, I think that works. Some of the stuff is repeated,
Mm,
absolutely, because, well, bears repeating.
right,
Um, and sometimes the change in how it's said can land differently.
right,
Like I saw a look on your face when I explained the whole,
mm,
when you keep talking about debt, you'll get more debt.
right,
Why? Because although you consciously are trying to say, but I'm doing everything I can not to spend
right,
money or to earn more or whatever, yes, and
mm,
your self-talk, which is what your subconscious brain is listening to, that
right,
is putting you further into debt And it
Mm.
will give you the behaviors to get you there. So you'll suddenly need to go shopping to buy this thing. You'll lose some money over here. You'll loan it to that person
Right.
who never pays you back. You will throw it away pretty much in order to be in that safe place, which is the place
Yes.
you keep telling your brain about,
Right.
debt,
Yes.
right? So this applies in all the things that we do as human beings. This is your operating system.
Hmm.
And you can't really upgrade from that. You can only hack it, to
Right.
use some computer terms. But and hacking it, well, pay attention to what it is that you're focusing on and change that. And a really good place to start is with like world events. What are you doing with that? What's your focus there? Because just like the algorithm gives you more of what you click on, your brain will give you more of what you focus on, but it will also give you the emotions and the thoughts that go with it. And our actions are based
Mm.
on our emotions that come from our thoughts, reverse
Yeah.
engineering it, right? I've done that whole thing before about the model from life coaching, where you have the first line, which is the circumstance that everybody in the world could agree on. And you thought
Right.
about it, your emotions, your actions, your results. So, literally where you are coming from will make a difference to how your magic lands and how it's received, how it ripples out into other people's worlds, and so on. That is a responsibility, actually. Like
Yes.
that's a thing. You are responsible for what you're putting out there. And again, saying I didn't know is not a get out of jail free card.
Right.
It's not a
Okay.
pass.
Right. There's another. Okay. So another one. When you mention it, right? So if you focus on debt, that's what your body's going to try to give you because that's what your body thinks you need, and that is key. It is
Yep.
absolutely key, even in your magical practice. But the reason it's key is because all your, we'll say your subconscious systems are not designed to fit with society, especially if society becomes more narrower in what it thinks you should focus on. It's not there for that. Your subconscious systems are there for you as an individual. What do you need? So even if when you're in a society and you think you need, X, Y, Z, but really you need ABC, your subconscious is going to make you go for ABC, even if it flies in the face of what society wants you to have.
Depending on what you believe about that, though, the thing is that the place your head is
Mm-hmm.
at, the kind of things you're thinking, will make all
Mm-hmm.
the difference. So when you're a rebellious sort of person, for
Mm-hmm.
example, that shows up and it shows up in
Right.
your behaviors too, even if you don't want it to. You might try and hide it, but it'll show up. Um, your brain wants you to be happy and it
Right.
wants you to be safe. And the way
Mm-hmm.
it does that is to give you what you say you want
Mm-hmm.
and to sort of pull the levers on the behaviors that you have already in your repertoire to do that thing. So think of food, right? You and I have
Right.
both come through the same programs there.
Mm-hmm.
So comfort eating. Oh
Right.
man, I'm feeling really stressed out because my boss yelled at me. Yank,
Mm-hmm.
that lever just gets pulled. What you do when you're feeling this way is
Mm-hmm.
you go and have a cinnamon roll.
Right.
Oh, I need a cinnamon roll right now. I'm gonna go get one. And it's literally, think of this little being inside your body pulling on strings or something that when you experience a certain thing, the familiar string will be pulled and
Right.
you'll go do that behavior. Well, it's the same thing with the self-talk thing, the focus. It's this little being pulling strings saying, "Oh, you want more of that? Okay." It's like
Yeah.
when you buy a red car, suddenly the wilderness dog is driving a red car. If
Yes, that's
you
true.
can't stand Teslas, suddenly you
Mm-hmm.
see them all over the place. And it's
Yeah.
like, when the hell did people buy Teslas? Just, it's because you're focused on it. And
Right.
so your brain will bring your attention to that.
Right.
And,
Well, that is what I was
so
trying to get at is that it's not so much what society wants, it is what you want. But
you have that control. Yeah.
right. And I've said to people before, like, Shit, it's gone. Then I say to people, "Oh, you're not a victim of your subconscious mind, even though your subconscious mind learns from your conscious mind. So what you consciously dictate as a priority, your conscious mind will try to learn from it, and then it will enforce what it learned because that's what it knows. So there's a balance always going on the inside with you from
Yeah.
what your conscious chooses as a priority. Then your subconscious mind tries to figure it out and tries to give it to you.
Well, you can't get mad at the storyteller for telling the same
Right,
stories when it didn't get a new book,
right,
right? Like you can't be mad at the part of your brain that gives you what you taught it,
right,
right? But we tend to do that because again, we're separating out. We must be the most fragmented society ever, I think, even within ourselves. We're disconnected from how we show up. And so, how are you going to effect um, a potent, active, difference making magical practice from a place of fragmentation?
right.
Literally
And that,
get your shit
yeah.
together.
Well, that's yes. And again, that goes back to the whole thing we were talking about, with religion, is it is giving you one way to do magic. And since there's as many ways of doing magic as there are people to do magic. So being told to do it one way is going to get in the way of your magic. If you happen to be that one person it's good for, which I don't know if there's even any person at this point who it is good for,
Nah, I
like
don't think so.
that's the thing, right?
It's not created for benefit.
Right,
It's control, and the people who are in control are the only ones who benefit. It's the most bizarre
right,
situation, but yeah, here we are. And because we're used to it, that's what we accept. Thinking of cultural thing that
right.
really illustrated that for me in real time. I lived in Bangladesh, and they have a very different society there from Western society, different approaches to morals, ethics, yada yada, because those are basically dictated by religions as well, right? And society takes them on and uses them. But where do our moral codes come from? Oh, seven deadly sins, do I hear?
Mm,
That's a fair chunk of it, right? But what I found was what interesting differences of approach. For example, I was there a long time back, and there was a dictator in charge, funnily
right.
enough. Been there before. And people with guns basically ran the country. I
Mhm,
believe that's happening again. But anyway, um, and the ones who were really dirt poor, living in the street, got nothing, just nothing at all, they would see corrupt people rising in riches and
mhm.
in position in society and getting more and more money and fancy houses and servants and stuff. Were they mad about it? Interestingly, no, they typically weren't. There was a sense of, in fact, I heard it spoken more than once. I wish I had a gun so I could do that.
Uh, yes,
There was if you're going to pick a sin, there was envy rather than a sense of injustice
right.
or wrongness, right?
Well,
So this person's starving in the street, and the person who is aiding and abetting in them starving in the street, if you will, they weren't viewed as being wrong. They were viewed as being more fortunate because they got the gun and the person in the street didn't. The whole approach was such a different thing
mhm.
and very cultural, right? Like how interesting is that?
You know, let's see. Well, we'll see if we go there. So, what I was going to say, that concept is something very common because I see it with people all the time. Is that the lesson is look, these people have influence and power, therefore I have to do what they did to get influence and power.
Right,
I don't have to uh, seek justice, I have to seek power so that I can
right.
do the same thing.
Exactly. So the lesson is not learned.
Right.
and and the whole it's just fascinating to me because again, going back to US society, if you put a post up on social media and say, I think that we should raise the minimum wage so that a person only needs to work one job in order to survive,
Right.
right? You will find a whole bunch of people jump onto that post with vitriol,
Mm,
and they will be absolutely tearing you apart for such ideas and telling you how you're going to ruin the economy, etc.,
mm,
etc. And if you look at the profiles of those people, they are by and large dirt poor, right?
hmm
They are the poor people who are insisting that you keep people poor. It is the most fascinating thing, but it happens all the time. It really happens all the time. If you look at the difference between Democrats and Republicans,
mm,
typically it has been the Democrats have more money than your average Republican
hmm
does. And
Yeah.
yet, who do they vote for, right? What reforms do they vote for? It's really interesting that the people who are at the bottom of the totem pole will try and keep everybody else there too, instead of trying to change the system.
Crabs in the
This
bucket.
is how
Yeah.
patriarchy works, right? Let's keep everybody where they are.
Mm,
Nobody rises above that.
right. It's well, it's like caste systems.
Yeah,
Like
it is a caste system. Yes,
even
actually.
if we don't officially have caste systems in the West anymore, we have them still.
Yeah, they still got them in the UK. Honestly, they do.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I mentioned it in passing before, but like if there was still a French royal family, I'd be French royalty. But because that's not a thing anymore, it doesn't matter that I come from that line. So
yeah, just keep your head.
yeah. Well, that's just funny, right? Because my sister and my brother and their partners went to France, right? And it was around Bastille Day. So they were talking about Bastille Day, and I'm like, oh, it's really cool. And I'm like, you have to remember that we're the people who would have been beheaded on Bastille Day,
Oh,
not the
huh.
other way around. But we were already, as a family lineage, already disowned from France because I come from the line that became Huguenots. So we were already booted out of France
Okay.
before that happened. So
Okay. Well, good for the people that got booted out.
yeah.
Yeah, that kind of pulled me out of my thread.
Sorry,
But
it just
if
it
you
was
if
go ahead.
if you agree that we're at the end of the episode, I have a card that I pulled. If you
Yes, I
have
was
more
excited
to
about that. All right.
if you have more to put in, then do so. Otherwise, I'll end
Um,
with this.
nope, no, that's I think we hit
Okay.
what we needed to hit. Yes.
Okay. So while we had that little break earlier
Mm,
and Daniel was doing his thing, I pulled another card to use at the end of the episode. And same deck, which is the Wild
mm,
Unknown Animal Spirit. And the card I pulled is one I actually haven't pulled before. Sometimes it happens, right?
right.
And this one was the dolphin. So, water element, innately intelligent, healer, light, and blessings. The gift of the dolphin, or the gifts, plural, of the dolphin, are beyond what our human minds can grasp. Dolphin personalities are often drawn to the healing arts. They are sensitive to the subtle and enjoy working on the level of spirit. It's easy for dolphin types to underestimate, the impact they make in the world. These creatures play such an important role in the wheel of karma that coming in contact with dolphin type will change the entire course of your day and thus your life. This card can also indicate a profound blessing is on the way. When in balance, the dolphin type is an active healer, a strong spiritual practitioner. When out of balance, they underestimate their own power.
Mm,
To bring into balance, find like minded spirits.
mm. Well, that is that
Mhm.
purple.
And I pulled that a while ago. So,
Mm.
yep, that's what I have.
Well, I mean, I think that actually pretty much summarizes the episode
Excellent.
because we were saying put aside all your stuff and start doing your work for yourself, which
Yep.
matches what we're trying to get with the dolphin thing. And there's probably a couple other things. But I've been for like the last half of this episode, I don't know what it amounts to and I don't know what it's about, but it's like, so again, not like, won't be the first time you've heard me talk about something going on in my third eye, but right now there's a whole lot of energy that wants to focus through, but it's not ready to. So it's just kind of like, imagine the third eye as a focusing lens, like literally as a lens. And there's all this energy that wants to go focus through it, but it can't right now. It's just kind of like pushing against it, washing off, coming back, trying to push back in through. I thought it was gonna
Hmm.
I thought it was gonna come through in the episode, but it's still it's not it's actually not unpleasant. Like as if it has time, it's not trying to push through and break the lens to get out at all cost.
Okay. I think do that practice again, the one that we started with.
Right.
Because I think when you do that with nothing in particular following it, you
Right.
might just get the breakthrough that's
Mm,
waiting to come through.
right. Yeah, because it's not unpleasant. There's no like headache attached to it. There's no discomfort. There's no nothing. It's just it's there, it's pushing, but it's biding its time at the same time.
Mhm. Well, try it and see if that
Yeah.
works.
And then that's it for the episode. That was the
All
final
righty then.
concept. All right. So once again, I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gavin Stone.
Till next time.
At the prochaine.